When you walk into the Murrow Hall of the Murrow College of Communication, you see this, the directory with the name of every graduate assistant on it. But what you don't see is that this list hasn't grown, it's shrunk. One name that is on the list is Katie Robinson-Tay, a graduate assistant working on her PhD, who says that the reduced number of her fellow colleagues hasn't gone unnoticed.
Oh, I know there is, because actually we didn't take an incoming class at all this year, so there's actually no first-year graduate students at Murrow College this year.
You heard that right. No new graduates. Specifically, Robinson is talking about PhD or doctorate students, and people have been talking about it. With rumors floating around the college about this irregular and unprecedented situation, I decided to take a look at the 2024 enrollment briefing summary. Looking at the numbers, there's a theme. From fall 2023 to fall 2024, the overall enrollment of master's and research doctorates dropped 6.5%, with every major in-person campus seeing a decrease. An even more severe difference is seen in the newly enrolled master's and doctorate, with a 13.8% drop through all of WSU and 12.4% less on the Pullman campus. But why? What prompted this 1 year sudden drop in graduate student enrollment? What caused this zero in accepted Murrow PhD students? Well, it's complicated.
Yeah, I think it's a tricky subject, because I think it would be easy to kind of say, look, all these union things that they just made now have made it so there's not enough grad students.
What Robinson-Tay is talking about is the short-lived strike that happened in January of this year, where WSU graduate students who teach and do research unionized, forming the Coalition for Academic Student Employees, or CASE. They were on strike for 3 hours before reaching an agreement. That, if ratified, would raise wages by 39%.
For us, actually, those who are here, obviously, we got a pay raise, right? And other benefits like we have now paid sick leave, parental leave, these kind of things. And we also have increased stipend. So that's good, right?
Jaren is the current president of CASE for the Murrow College and a PhD student herself. She says that although people will point to the strike as the main cause, choices higher in the college are also a factor. Ryan Thomas, associate professor and the director of graduate students at Murrow, gave the answer for that zero.
But essentially that's the sort of bottom line of it, is that we had to implement this pay raise, right? Because once it becomes a union contract, it's a matter of employment law. We don't have a choice in it. So it just became very clear to me that the right thing to do was to make sure that our current students were looked after.
It was an intentional choice, the ethics of which Thomas says were clear.
To me, it was a no-brainer, right? I lost no sleep about it. I'm very content with that decision, that we had excellent students here, that we wanted to make sure that they could remain on assistantships and complete their degrees funded. If that means not admitting a cohort of new graduate students in for one semester, that's absolutely fine.
Thomas says they did try to find other avenues, however.
When the union contract was agreed, the university made a request to the state to provide some funds to cover the cost of that increase. The state provided some of the cost of that increase, but they didn't provide all. And then the university said basically to units, figure out the rest.
Now keep in mind that Murrow had a different situation than other colleges here on campus. For one, they grant full assistantships to every in-person Murrow grad here on campus. Most often, those are teaching assistantships, where they go out and teach Com 101, Com 102 to undergrad students. But that's different from somewhere like the School of Agricultural, Human, and Natural Resource Sciences, which has something called research assistantships designed to help pay for graduate students through federal and state grants. Because as we know, it costs the university money. It doesn't save them to enroll them.
And again, this is, like I said, this is complicated. The legislature meets and budgets on a 2-year cycle. So we came into them in the second year of the 2 years, and that's why they said, we'll give you a small amount of money this last year, but come back in January when the actual session starts again, and we can put this into a 2-year budget. So WSU is going back to the Washington State Legislature again this year, and one of our top priorities is to seek additional funding from the state to help offset the costs.
Phil Weiler, Vice President of Communications and the spokesperson for WSU, says that what Murrow did was smart for their situation.
Again, I think that the Murrow College was being smart, that they were like, the future is uncertain. We can foresee that based on the amount of money we have today, we're not going to have enough to cover our current commitments to our current students as well as bring in new students.
Weiler also says that a situation like this one keeps WSU competitive, that it won't detract, but attract.
If I were a PhD candidate, if I was thinking about getting a PhD in communication, I would, you shop around because you want to go to the best program, you want to work with faculty who are doing the kind of work that you're doing, but you're also recognizing that I'm gonna take 6 or 7 years out of my life, devote it to this program, and I have to live, right? I have to not only do my work, but I need to make sure it's not uncommon for PhD students to have families. They need to pay for their rent, they need to pay for their car insurance, they need to pay for their groceries. And if you are in a non-unionized program, chances are you're going to get paid a lot less than if you were in a unionized operation. So I don't think the strike frightened away anybody. I would say just the opposite.
And there's something to that.
I'm treating it as an outlier because we're already planning for admissions for next fall to admit somewhere in the realm of like 8 or 9 students, or 7 to 9 students, I would say.
So, when you walk into Murrow next year, you'll see a new list at the door, one that represents the dedication of a college and a university faithful to their own and what they stand for. In Pullman, I'm Cooper Morgan.